but you just alluded to some things you had recently found that made it feel better. What are they?
Well, there's a couple things, but also, you're talking about mic in the back and the front. You can actually make speaker IRs that are from the back, and then you can blend those in.
I never thought of that.
Yeah, and then you can actually get a little bit of that, because for people who've never had the opportunity to do what you're talking about, mic the amp from behind and from the front, there's a certain depth to the sound, and if done correctly, where it sits in the mix, you really get a three-dimensional sound out of it, and it's nice. But you obviously have phase problems because you have to correct that, and when I was doing the Jimmy Page demonstration thing that I was talking about, I do have a mic from behind. I have oddball placements to just show, like, if it was back in the day, early, let's say, mid to late 60s, early 70s, still the go-to factor of getting a different sound would be change the instrument or change the mic placement. You basically went to those things before you tried EQ or other stuff, because it was really about trying to get the sound at the source and the foundation of it. So I still take that approach when I'm building stuff in the Fractal. I really build all of my stuff from the ground up. And one of the things that I found, at least in the Fractal, and I don't know how this translates to other things, because I don't know the other formats as well. But, in terms of programming in the Fractal, one of the things you can do is there's a certain point where there's an EQ that's before the amplifier.
Yeah.
And so if you find a certain resonant frequency that's in a sound that you like, so for example, what you could do is you could examine a recorded sound. You could look at it on a scope and see, it's got a bump at 500. And you could say, well, where else does it have a bump, or where else does it have a cut? What's the thing that's giving it the real personality of that sound? You find what that frequency range is, and let's say it's 500, and you push that into the amp before anything else. Now, the response of what you play is going to already be closer to the sound that you like and the way the guitar reacts within that sound, because it's living in that relative
wow, that's
the
really
promoted frequency. So that ends up being an important factor in getting the response that you want, and it surprisingly does a lot of the work before you have to do anything else. So that, and then really, like, doing any kind of analysis on a guitar sound that you really like, seeing where things are cut, where they're boosted. You can then tweak the EQ of whatever you're doing with a parametric EQ in the program or whatever. And then, of course, if you have the right speaker IR to begin with, you're already kind of in the place that you need to be, and you make some slight alterations with some EQ that are beneficial to the sound. So, like, if you listen to that eruption that we were just talking about, that is the most recent little foray into working on that sound, and it felt the most like what it sounds like on the record, but like the guitar responded really well, and I could hit some of the same harmonics and get some of the same nuances within the playing, because it really matched what that sound, all the nuances of that sound, it matched it so well that actually playing it was easier, because the guitar was just reacting the way that it should with the sound.
I mean, you're definitely a guy who's read the manual, and I think a lot of my fear is the week, that 1 week of a lot of coffee, sit down with a big book and try and get through how to move stuff around and which mic. And
it's surprisingly easier with the, at least with Fractal, with their editor that they have, that you can use on a laptop or an iPad. It's not It's not that difficult to get into, but the thing is, there's so many things that you can attach modifiers to change parameters and use a pedal for it, or have something else interact with it. So there's all kinds of stuff that you could do that you couldn't do in the real world, because you don't have some ability to turn the knob on an amplifier in the way that this can automatically do it for you.
Yeah.
So you can do lots of weird things. Plus it has the ability to, you could rebias the amp, the digital rebiasing, or change the tubes in the amp, and you can hear all these different things. And all that stuff just comes down to, how do you want to process the top end frequencies, like, you know, the fizzy stuff.
The 3K, the 4, yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of different ways where that stuff can be affected, rather than just shelving the EQ off.
Yeah.
You know? So
yeah. I'm afraid of that. I know I've taken my first steps in. I got a Helix Stomp XL. I got a new X Trident. I got all these new digi things to try them all out. And because I have a little bit of touring coming up, and my touring predominantly has been Southeast Asia. And so the last thing I wanted to do was ask for amplifiers and have all sorts of problems traveling from Shanghai all the way down. And the new X stuff I used was just, I mean, it was great. I was really almost pissed off at how well it sounded, you know, back in the day with my little Digitech RP1 trying to get something out of it, you know, it was just awful. Yeah. The world has changed. I mean, since I've been demonstrating gear with Andertons over 15 years now, people are now packing it into guitars, which I think is frankly terrifying, but kind of exciting as well. It's really surprising how much better a lot of these things have gotten. Even like those Spark amplifiers. I use one of those as a practice amp in my dressing room, but it's if I'm going to just sit and practice at home, it's probably the easiest go-to thing. It's portable, it sounds good, and I just I find that it's totally fine. You know, it's not analog in any way, shape, or form, but it has familiar sounds that feel good to play on. And you know, there's a lot of people that will just always want to put their foot down and be the cork sniffer and say, oh, well, absolutely, I can always tell, and I'm never gonna, you know. It's like, well, great, enjoy playing the tube amps. They sound great. You know, no one says you can't play them, but sometimes there's you know, some convenience that you have to take into consideration, and these things have gotten good enough that you know, now is the time to look at which ones work for you.